Well, next week's joint practice with the Ravens is off, and I have a major issue. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Full Command Show. My name is Grant Mitchell, and we're here to talk about everything involving the Washington Commanders. Let me say this right now. This might be the most loaded day of news yet. Not that we have the biggest stories in the world, although we do have some good ones, but there's just so much stuff that happened and is going to happen that we have to talk about in this video. We've got a lot of housekeeping. A player was released. A couple others were signed. Players were worked out, potentially future signings. The joint practice with the Ravens, as I said in the intro, it's already been canceled. Updates from practice. Dan Quinn press conference. Terry McLaurin, another contract update. We may have finally gotten some concrete numbers, and we're going to make sure that we cover all of that in this video. So strap yourselves in. Go get yourself a cold drink, whatever you got to do. We're going to be here for a good 15 to 20 minutes, and there is a lot to talk about. So let me go through this in order. We're going to start with the housekeeping notes. The Commanders have officially announced the signings of receiver Cracraft and safety Daryl Worley. Worley was one of 4 defensive backs that the team worked out yesterday. They went ahead and made the move. Now, unfortunately, to accommodate those signings, they had to release wide receiver Michael Strachan, so good luck to Michael wherever he ends up. Worley last year played 9 games with the Tennessee Titans. He is 30 years old. He ranked 79th of 98 safeties on Pro Football Focus's last year. I was pretty bummed to find out that 98th of the 98 was Percy Butler. So 2 Commanders represented now in the bottom 20 for safeties. Last year, Worley had 52 tackles, a forced fumble, an interception, and 2 pass breakups, again in only 9 games, which those are very impressive counting stats. However, defensive backs, not necessarily great to have counting stats, and that was somewhat reflected in Pro Football Focus's rankings. I'm going to be honest, I haven't broken down any film. I don't really know how well he did or didn't play last year, but he's on the team now, so we'll see what happens. Cracraft had 7 receptions for 66 yards with the Miami Dolphins last year. He has a history with Adam Peters. He played in San Francisco for a year or two. He has 32 career receptions. This is probably just to bolster the depth a little bit. Give him some looks in preseason. See if he can be a bit part player, if he'll even make the 53-man roster at all. I don't know. I still like, obviously, Terry, Debo, Lane, McCaffrey, Noah Brown, if he ever plays football again. And then Jacory Brooks, as we know, is my guy for that 6th spot. Michael Gallup also in contention. So we'll see if Cracraft can make his way onto the roster. Now, no signings here, but the Commanders also worked out offensive tackles George Fant and Cam Fleming, both veteran guys who the Commanders say that they plan to stay in contact with. So we will loop back to this in the future. But just like I was saying in my video earlier today, when I was discussing the Commanders working out those players, I said if they're working out 4 DBs, probably means they're going to sign one. Lo and behold, they signed Daryl Worley. When they worked out 7 linebackers, I said they're probably going to sign a linebacker. They released Dominique Hampton. They signed Duke Riley. So stay in contact with 2 free agent tackles. One of them's probably going to end up on the roster. I'm just going to say that right now. As I mentioned in the opening, the Commanders and Ravens have mutually agreed to cancel their joint practice next week. The Ravens put out a statement, which I will read you right now. Quote, recognizing the logistical challenges with our team's previous games scheduled on different days and the added strain on players heading into a short week, the Ravens and Commanders mutually agreed to no longer hold a joint practice next week. Instead, we will concentrate on preparing for our upcoming preseason matchup. So the Commanders are hosting the Bengals on Monday night next week, the same week that the joint practice was scheduled for. The Ravens will be playing the Cowboys in Dallas in 2 days, so on Saturday. Dan Quinn said that he visited with John Harbaugh and they couldn't get the timing to work. The Commanders play on Monday, like I mentioned. I guess the concern here is that if you have a preseason game on Monday and then a joint practice with both teams playing on Saturday, I would assume the joint practice would be Thursday. So you would have game Monday, rest Tuesday, practice Wednesday, joint practice Thursday, some sort of walkthrough Friday, game Saturday. I guess the decision ultimately came down to they didn't think that was enough time to A, implement what they wanted to in practice, but B, and maybe even B should be A, give the players enough time to rest. I have a big problem with this. Joint practices are more valuable than preseason games with just where the NFL is right now. Starters will actually play. They'll actually play heavy reps. You saw that up in New England. The Commander starters were out there pretty much the entire time, and then they didn't play a lick in the preseason game. It's a time where not only do you get to sharpen your tools and actually go at full game speed while working situationals, it's different from a preseason game where everything's based on game flow. You can say, hey, we're going to do a red zone drill here. We're going to do a 2-minute drill here. You can practice all of that individual work, but it's also against a quality opponent. The Baltimore Ravens are the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl right now. They've got one of the 2 best rosters in the NFL, and they've got a 2-time, should have been 3-time MVP quarterback. All of that would have been great for you to go against. And if the Commanders were flying out, I don't even want to say the West Coast, if they're flying to Chicago for a joint practice, I would say, okay, I get the short turnaround. It's a concern. On the day of the joint practice, you can just hop on the bus and drive up to Baltimore. It's not a huge travel strain. And your starters are going to play what? Like a quarter of the second preseason game on Monday against the Bengals. The starters basically never play in the third preseason game. So it would be game, off day, practice day, and then a joint practice. Did I do that? Yeah. Off day, practice day, joint practice. So you would get basically 2 full days. And I'm assuming Wednesday would be a walkthrough. So you'd get 2 full days and then you go to a joint practice after only playing 1 quarter. It's not like it's a full game. I get that limiting injury is the biggest priority at this point in the season. But at the same time, you got to be prepared to play NFL football. Don't forget, there's only 3 weeks until the New York Giants are coming to your house with expectations through the roof, but also lots of issues going on. The defense didn't look great in the joint practice or the preseason game. Terry McLaurin's not out there. The contract stuff is just hanging over the team. Brandon Coleman's injured. Noah Brown is injured. There's a lot of stuff going on, and you got to be ready to play. And I worry that taking away this joint practice greatly limits the team's ability to be prepared for when the Giants come to town. But those are just my thoughts on that. Dan Quinn did say that without the joint practice, it's a lost opportunity, but they might actually play some of their starters in the third preseason game. That basically never happens. That final game is supposed to be to determine who is and is not going to make the 53-man roster, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and this would be a bit of a desperate measure as well. Also, one last thing on the joint practice. Let's say you get the Terry deal worked out. He needs opportunities to get in shape. Are you going to put him out in the third preseason game? It seems a little below his standard. But then again, that's the position he puts himself in. But I just look at this as like, this is a huge missed opportunity. Speaking of Terry McLaurin, the Steelers reportedly made a call for Terry McLaurin. I saw this corroborated by a couple of outlets. Shout out to user Tiger0366. He posts, well, if you're watching this, I appreciate you. You post a bunch of comments under my videos, very long, thought out comments. You mentioned to me the other day that the Steelers were looking to offer Roman Wilson in a 3rd round pick. If you pick up the phone call and whoever Pittsburgh's general manager is, the Rooney family, whatever, they're saying, hey, we got this great deal for you, man. Terry McLaurin for Roman Wilson, a 3rd round pick. You take the phone, you slam it as hard as you can so it hurts their ear. Not that we have landlines anymore. You bang the red button on your iPhone as hard as you can, and then you block their number. That is an insulting. If that is real, that is an insulting offer. Roman Wilson, in his NFL career, which is only 1 year, to be fair to the kid, but he was a 3rd round pick last year. He had 2 receptions for 24 yards. And I don't know if he struggled with injuries or what, but this guy, he was not that impressive at Michigan. I know that was a run-first offense, and he had close to 800 yards. He had 12 touchdowns in his final year, but like if you watch him, he does not look like someone who's going to stand out. And he's a 3rd round pick, and he's 24 years old, and Terry's 30, and you don't want to be paying old players. I got it. But Roman Wilson, I don't think, like the Commanders just drafted Luke McCaffrey in the 3rd round. Can we give our own 3rd round pick a chance? Jalen Lane, we want on the field. So now we're going to have Debo and Lane and McCaffrey, and we want all of them on the field with Noah Brown, with Jacory Brooks. And now we got to find reps for Roman Wilson, who's probably, I would assume, going to be playing in the slot. We need an X receiver. If Roman Wilson was a 6'2" X receiver who'd gotten on the field and shown some potential, then I would be on this. I don't even know if he would play. So now it's basically just Terry for a 3rd. That's the trade proposal that we're looking at, and that's preposterous. So get that deal out of my sight. If they want to come back to the table with a second and Roman Wilson, or second and a different player, or just a straight up first with nothing else, we can talk. But Roman Wilson, the third, run away as fast as you can. Let's move over to Dan Quinn's press conference today before practice. He was asked a lot of questions, a lot of his answers just not really relevant enough for me to mention in this video. Someone asked him, what did he learn the most from the Burgundy Gold scrimmage, the intra-squad scrimmage that happened a couple of days ago? He said that he loved to see the defense playing downhill and aggressive. He mentioned a couple of players that flashed to him: Javon Kinlaw, Dorrance Armstrong, Mike Sainristil, all defensive guys, going with the theme that we had talked about when the reports came out after that practice where Jaden and the first team offense didn't score a single point. He also mentioned that Brandon Coleman did an early walkthrough today. We are about to talk about Coleman in just a second. He did not participate in the actual practice today, but he got a walkthrough in the morning. He did mention there is still concern about the offensive line's lack of chemistry. Laramie Tunsil's missed a couple of days, scheduled veteran rest days. Coleman's not been there because of his ankle. Cosby's not been there because of his right knee. Connolly's playing a new position. He mentioned there's some concerns, and yeah, I agree with him. I'm also concerned. Let's talk about practice today. Today's session was a jog through in the bubble, the good old new practice bubble. Bill Jacory Croskey-Merritt wore a non-contact jersey. I'm starting to wonder if he's going to be able to play against the Bengals. If you remember, he left in either the first or the second quarter of that preseason game against the Patriots, goes to the blue tent. They pull him out. They say he's fine, but we don't want to risk re-aggravation of the injury, which was some sort of shoulder injury. He doesn't practice earlier in the week. Now he's got a non-contact jersey on. You know, if we get to tomorrow, if he's a go for the first time tomorrow, that's 3 days before a preseason game. He's going to make the team. That much has been established. I was talking about my video earlier today. Ben Standig, who's a Commanders reporter, said that he thinks Brian Robinson Jr. won't even be on the team, meaning the assumption is that Bill's going to be the starting running back. So if this is your starting running back, are you going to rush him to play in week 2 of the preseason? Most likely not. So I am starting to genuinely question if he's even going to play against the Bengals at all. As I mentioned, Tunsil was out. Zach Ertz also out. It's fine. Nothing's wrong. Scheduled veteran rest days. However, because Tunsil was gone, because Cosme is injured, because Coleman is injured, there was a major shakeup on the offensive line. Josh Connolly went back to left tackle where he played in college. Andrew Wiley, who's been doing work at left guard, was at right tackle, which is where he played last year for the Commanders. And Julian Good-Jones got reps at first team left guard. Chris Paul, I thought, would have been the natural there. Nick Allegretti, I know he's been training on the right side. He also played left guard last year, so you could have looked to him, but it was Julian Good-Jones, who I know very little about. Matter of fact, why don't I educate myself? Julian Good-Jones is a 6'5", 313-pound, 28-year-old from Iowa State with 2 years of experience. Okay, well, I mean, you're not really going to look up yards or anything like that for a lineman, but I hope it went well, Julian. We'll see if you play in the preseason game, how that goes. Jordan Magee was back. It's about time. This guy, when Dominique Campton got released, I came out with a video. I was like, dude, Jordan Magee, you might end up as the next Dominique Campton, except without even getting on the field, because the team drafted you in the 5th round. You got all the potential in the world. You don't play last year. You don't play in the joint practice. You don't play in the preseason game. When are you going to get on the field? Whether you are a capable NFL player or not, we don't know because we haven't seen you play. And those evaluations will never happen if you don't play. But finally, he's back at practice. I really hope that he's able to play against the Bengals because I want to see him. Like I believe in this guy and his potential. And with Kane Medrano, although he was rough around the edges, Medrano was physical. He was fast. He showed some flashes. I'd like to see the two of them out on the field together. With Magee coming back, Brandon Coleman was out, as I had mentioned, and Noah Brown still out. We're all talking about the Terry McLaurin holdout and how that's affecting things. If Noah Brown was there, Noah can fill in at the X. He's tall, 6'2", 6'3". He's physical. He can run that sort of route tree. He's not as good as Terry McLaurin, don't get me wrong, but there's at least a backup. There should always be a positional backup available everywhere on the field. There's no true X receiver on the field without Terry and without Noah. And that, I'm assuming, has thrown practices off, thrown joint practices, preseasons, all that's off because you can't work certain plays, certain concepts, or at least you can try them, but you're not going to get anywhere. And that's been evidenced by the defense reportedly being ahead of where the offense has been all throughout the offseason. So I don't know what you do with Noah Brown at this point. Like, is he even going to make the roster? Is he going to get cut? Because he missed the end of the year with that, I think it was a kidney, whatever injury. And now he's got whatever this is going on. There are no leaks coming out of the franchise, which I deeply appreciate. It shouldn't be a surprise because Adam Peters comes from the New England Patriots tree, and they never let anything get out. Everything was internal. Conflicts, drama. It wasn't like when Antonio Brown was on Facebook Live in the Steelers locker room after a playoff game. You're getting none of that. So it's great for business that there are no leaks. But I got to tell you, it's incredibly frustrating as a fan and as someone who's trying to report on what's going on because I don't know. I have no clue. Is Noah Brown, is he cleared to play football even? Is he just being held out for precautionary reasons? Is he out for the next 2 months? I have no idea. So at this point, I'm just going to, I'm not even going to think about him until he's actually back out there participating in full. In more positive news, Jacob Martin got a lot of first-team reps with the defense today. If you remember Jacob Martin, he was a big part of that play that got Johnny Newton the sack fumble against the Patriots. Yes, it was Newton who used the exit stunt to loop out to the outside, grab Drake May by his legs, pull him down, ball comes out. But Jacob Martin set it up by doing a great job getting to the interior, dragging Will Campbell with him to then open up the outside lane for Newton to curl around. And then Jacob Martin also recovered the fumble. So Martin gets some run with the ones today. Good for him. I'll close out this video talking about Terry McLaurin. I'm sure that it can be frustrating to hear about Terry every single day, and we just want to move on. And in some ways, I feel guilty. But also, I want to remind you, I'm not sharing the same thing over and over again. Every time I talk about him, I bring something new to the table. By the way, guys, if you haven't made it this far in the video, do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, join the fastest growing community in Commanders Nation. I'm trying to get to 1,500 subs before the Cincinnati Bengals game. Those of you who have already subscribed and have been a part of the channel, watching, liking, commenting, I so deeply appreciate you. You guys make my day. Also hit the like button. That is the easiest way to support me. But yeah, let me get back to the Terry stuff here. I don't bring this to the table to annoy you with the same details. There's always new angles, new perspectives, new information whenever I talk about him. And we have new information today. So this is according to Charles Robinson, a senior NFL reporter for Yahoo. He was on the Andrew Siciliano show. And this is a direct quote here. When negotiations first opened, I think the Commanders were a little stunned initially by what Terry McLaurin and his camp were really gunning for in these negotiations. The initial number was high enough that it almost completely broke down the conversation instantaneously between the two parties. I think the Commanders were stunned at initially what the ask was. To me, the inference is this was like nearly top tier, tier one money. He also then went on to say that the DK Metcalf contract, which seemed to be sort of it seemed to be like the focal point of Terry's side of negotiations. That was their measuring stick almost. You know, Terry and DK were drafted in the same year. Terry's a better player. DK got this money. This is what Terry deserves. It seemed like that was their baseline. The way that Charles Robinson was talking made it sound like that was their second offer. So if DK Metcalf is getting 32, 33, let me pull it up again. I haven't talked about it in a while, so I forgot the exact details. DK Metcalf signed a 4-year, $132 million deal. So that's an average salary of $33 million a year with $60 million guaranteed at signing and a $30 million signing bonus. $60 million in total guarantees. So a $33 million AAV. That was the compromise for Terry, is what it sounds like. Terry and his agent. And if I'm the Commanders, if we're to assume that is the compromise, that's the second offer. The first offer got to be at least $2 million more per year, right? So that would be $35 million per year, if not more, which means that Terry, going on his age 30 season, and his agent, I don't want to even say Terry's agent went to the table asking for at least Justin Jefferson money. Justin Jefferson's making $35 million a year. He's the second highest paid receiver. Jamar Chase is making $40 million. He is the highest paid. So Terry's agent was probably, if this report is true, it's accurate, his agent was probably asking for Terry to become the second highest paid receiver in the NFL, which is insane. If you look at the 10 highest paid receivers in the league, and maybe even beyond that, I stopped at 10. Only one of them signed an extension around their age 30 season, or one that would kick in their age 30 season, and it was Tyreek Hill. And actually, is that even true? That might not be true. No, because he's been there for a few years. So he would have signed that when he was like 28 or 29, even though he's 31 years old now. So I have no idea what they were thinking. Is Terry's game going to age better than other players? Will his game age better than DK Metcalf? Absolutely. DK Metcalf is all physicality. There's very little technical ability in his game, at least compared to the other greats in the NFL. But like, come on, dude. If 33 million, which is the fourth highest amount in the entire league, if that's the count, that's the compromise, no wonder these teams have been so far apart. I can't confirm this as 100% true. Very, very little. Most of the time when I'm reporting things, I will try to make it very clear what is my opinion versus what is coming from someone else. That's why I'm so insistent on citing my sources, because I want to know where the information is coming from so that there's no breakdown in the chain of communication. But 32 million, 33 million a year as the compromise is crazy. And if you're thinking like, have you ever played FIFA, the game? Anybody out there? When you try to buy a player and you submit the opening offer, if it's so far away from the real valuation, they don't even give you a counter. They just walk away. They say it's not going to happen. And then you have to wait a week and you have to go back again. This feels like what happened here. If Terry and his agent came to me and I'm the Commanders, I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe I'd be willing to go to like 27, 28. I'm going to start this thing off at like 24, 25, and we can compromise from there. If we're $10+ million apart, and if we're starting at 25 and they want 35, that's a difference of $10 million. $10 million when we're talking about 25 million is 40%. So if there's a 40% difference between us, yeah, no wonder we don't have a deal signed yet. Now, with that being said, I still have faith something's going to get done. I think Terry wants to be here. I don't know why he would be hugging Jaden's mom, why he would be shaking hands with Josh Harris, why he would be at practice talking to Adam Peters the other day. I believe there are signs of progress, but we are just going to have to wait and see. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure that you do hit that subscribe button. Again, trying to get to 1,500 by the Bengals game. Hit the like button if you want to support me, you want to support the content. Go to the comment section, leave me your opinions. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will catch you all in the next one. Have a great day.